messed up the title of this stream. Let's see here. High res audio. Okay. I gotta go into YouTube. My channel. There we are. My channel. Oh. Let's see. Do I have any chatty people on here? Let me get rid of this. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, so let's open up. I think what I'll do is I'll open up Audition, and we will go through, and I will show you. Let me see here. Once it opens, and forgive my man bun stuff. Like, number one, I've got to get a haircut. Number two, yeah, I just got to get a haircut. Let's see what this looks like. Number one, I've got to get a haircut. Number two, let me see here. Yeah, I just got to get a haircut. Audio. Check audio. Check audio. Mic check 1 2 3. Mic check 1 2 3. can't hear me. Sorry. So I'm going to test this out. File. Let's go to Audition. Hardware. Yes. MGXU. Yes. Okay. So this was the last podcast episode that I had. Let's see.
Mixdown Media Productions.
When you're one unbalanced piece of audio from losing your shit. This is the Podcast Therapist.
Welcome back to another episode of the Podcast Therapist. I'm your host, the Shan Man, radio broadcaster, podcaster, and podcast producer. Wow. Okay. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. So I need to listen to what it looks like. Sounds like though. Where am I? Hang on. So I've got some things I've got to test out here. Hang
on. Mixdown Media Productions.
When you're one unbalanced piece of audio from losing your shit. This is the Podcast Therapist.
Welcome back to another episode of the Podcast Therapist. I'm your host, the Shan Man, radio broadcaster, podcast. All right, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Not gonna lie. I see someone popped in, so whoever you are, say hello. And see, that's the thing. I don't see who's popping in to the live stream. I'm going to turn this volume down. Let's see. Or can I? No, I cannot. Okay. This is interesting. So I'm going to play something. Let me see here. Take that off. Let's see. Todd Becraft. I think is how you say your name. Todd. Hi. Appreciate all the help you offer us after procrastinating for a couple years. I finally started my own podcast about a month ago. Oh, great, man. Glad to hear that. What is the podcast about? Let's see. I'm gonna play some stuff for you, Todd. Because I'm popping over here into. I really need to do this dual screen thing. Because I can't see the comments on Restream. This sucks. Big time. I mean, that Restream doesn't suck. I have to set up what I need to set up on my computer physically over here. So there we go with that. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Todd, you're the guy. Yeah, you're the guy that hit me up a while back, didn't you? Or maybe you're someone else. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. It's a weightlifting based podcast called Power Rack Podcast. What's the link? Try and pop a link in the comments, and I'll try to go to it. Let's see. What do we got? Maybe I'll look it up in Apple Pod. Is it already up there? It's already up there. We'll look it up in Apple Podcasts. Look it up there. Power Rack. There it is. Podcast. Or I guess it's not. Did I write that in right? Yes, I was bugging you for a long time before I started. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember you. So where's let's see here. Power Rack Podcast, episodes, shows. Power Strangers. No, I don't see it anywhere. Is it on Spotify? Open. Spotify. Got a bug in my throat. Let's see. Power Rack Podcast. I do not see it. So maybe you haven't launched it yet. I don't know. Let's see. So I'm going to play. Tell me how this sounds on your end if you can hear it.
Mixdown Media Productions.
When you're one unbalanced piece of audio from losing your shit.
This is the Podcast Therapist.
Welcome back to another episode of the Podcast Therapist. I'm your host, the Shan Man, radio broadcaster, podcaster, and podcast producer. Here, after a few short words, you're listening to the Podcast Therapist.
The Podcast Therapist.
I want to remind you that today's podcast was. Want to learn more about StreamYard? Check out my StreamYard. Let's see here. Going back. See, I'm not sure if you were able to hear that, Todd, and hear anything that was there. I'm literally just trying to figure this stuff out for myself today. So, and clearly, there are not a lot of podcasters on in the day. So I may have to do one of these in the evening, like at a 4:00 time period. Or maybe what I do is I just interview someone live. That could be a thing. Okay, so you could hear that audio coming through on Adobe Audition, and it sounded pretty clean. That is awesome. Let me look at the chat overlay. Can I put the chat? Okay, there it goes. Messages from the audience will display here. Oh, I guess that's not. Yeah, see, this is just all this is just me really just testing Restream.io. So, that is it's just something that I want to test out right now. I'm probably going to end up doing a video on Restream.io. So, that's what really the purpose is of this test is so that I can get acquainted with Restream. Let me look at settings. I already did that. RMTP, connect Zoom, OBS. Oh, upgrade now, third-party tool. Yeah, if I wanted to use it. I mean, that's kind of a cool feature where you could use Zoom. You could stream your Zooms over into Restream. StreamYard doesn't have that, which is a bummer, I guess. But yeah, you could stream into that. Let's see, what else do we got? Add a video file. Yeah, you can add video files. Invite guests, obviously. We can do that. Events. Oops, cancel. We don't want to do that because we want to stay within the live stream. Captions. I don't know if the captions show up. And I don't know what. There we go. I don't know what that does. What the captions do. Follow us. Follow me on edit. Let's follow me on. Yeah, I'll just say follow me on Twitter. I'm guessing. I don't know how I can show those. News, branded. Okay. Okay, so I could put a logo if I want. Oh yeah, that's cool. You could put a logo. I could put an overlay if I wanted to. That's kind of cool. So I'd have to build out my own graphics, participants' names. Let's see here. I use StreamYard, but I have a lot of trouble with using videos even after converting them to MP4. So what is it about the conversion? What do you mean? What do you mean converting? Are you talking about converting them to MP3? Is that what you mean? Oh, wait, what's going on here? Oh, I'm on my, okay. Chat, I don't know, the chat overlay. How do I get, let me see, hang on. There's always that learning curve that you have, right? There's always a learning curve. So I'm in the learning curve phase right now. Let's see here. From MP3 to MP4. StreamYard only seems to allow MP4s. I'm not sure what that means. What do you mean by MP4s? Like when you record? I'm not sure what you mean by that. But I use StreamYard, but I have a lot of trouble using videos even after converting to MP4. It shouldn't. I don't know what that means because typically it's from MP4 to MP3. So I'm using the MP4 as the video, and then I'm converting directly into MP3. So that's how I do that. So what is that what you're talking about? So, and then there's, okay, so I don't want this graphic up because it's not me. So we're going to take that down. Okay, so I'm going to jump into StreamYard and I'm going to see if I still have a video up. Past broadcast. Can I download Steve Moynihan? Download recording. Let's see here. So I'm going to download if I can. Oh, it's already gone. So I already got, in other words, I still got this audio recording. I've got this video recording in StreamYard. So, and I'm sure I can't do it here. Yeah. So let's just say for the sake of example that I have downloaded this from StreamYard. So the MP4. So typically what I would end up doing is I would end up opening up I have it downloaded and then I would open up my drive of wherever I've saved it. So we're going to jump into my drive and we're going to find it. And then what I end up doing is I just drag it directly into my DAW, basically. So, and forgive me if I don't remember where everything is. I lost my I damaged my hard drive last week. And so I'm over here still trying to figure out where all my files are because I had to rename a bunch of stuff and it's just been kind of a big pain in the butt. So let's see, episodes. Let's see, can we go to Steve Moynihan? So here's the Steve Moynihan interview that I have. So typically what I end up doing is I come into Adobe Audition and then I'll just say Steve Moynihan and we'll just say test because I've already got this file all ready to go. And then all I'm doing is I'm just grabbing that file and I'm just I'm dragging it in and then I wait for it to render out. And then after it is rendered out, um, let me see here. Steve Moynihan. Yeah, here's the session. Steve Moynihan. I just wait for it, and then from there, there it is. And of course, it gives me a preview, but this is for audio only. So this is audio only, and then from there, I would probably just end up saving it, save as uh, MP3. I would not save anything that way or in Wave because it just takes forever. And I would just say Steve Moynihan, uh, YouTube test stream, and then I would just save it into his folder. We'll put it so we got his folder there. And then as far as the I would actually change this over into mono because I'm not doing anything that is specifically that needs stereo. So I would change it over to mono. It's less space. And of course, I save it at like 256. You can change it to whatever you want. Kilobytes per second. You could change it to 128. It's going to be a little bit lower quality, but whatever. I typically have 256 because it doesn't affect my space on Buzzsprout at all. And then I just save it. And then I have the file as a mono file, and it saves a lot faster as a mono file. So there it is as the mono file. And video can't be viewed because we've changed the file itself.
Can be strictly
and there's the file itself. So let me go to the comments section in Restream chat. So let's see here. From MP3 to MP4 StreamYard. Okay, he's talking about streaming a pre-recorded video. Probably StreamYard doesn't let us use MP. Yeah, you can't use MP3s in StreamYard. So what are you looking to do exactly? I use StreamYard, but I have a lot of trouble using videos even after converting. So I don't know what you're using in editing as far as MP4s are concerned. How you're editing? I'm editing in Adobe Premiere, and so or you can even do this in ScreenFlow. You can even do it in Camtasia. Those are ways where you can get MP4s, and also I think it would also depend on the system that you're using. So if you're using a computer that has pretty good RAM, that could be an issue that you're dealing with right now. So that might be something that you might want to consider. So for me, I switched everything over into Adobe Premiere. Adobe Premiere is not for everyone. It's definitely, you've got to have a better computer. Like I had to upgrade my Mac this year, or I'm sorry, in 2020, in order to render out videos in Adobe Premiere. But before that, I was using ScreenFlow for Mac, and I was able, that's a lot of those early videos that you're seeing on my channel where they were all done in ScreenFlow. So there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, I don't know. It really wouldn't matter which editing platform that I'm using other than the fact that I changed the camera. I went from using this Logitech, camera to a Sony A6400 camera to create all my videos. So, it didn't matter in the rendering process when it came down to me rendering down MP4 videos because it just didn't matter. It was an MP4 video. So then whenever I was able to upload them into StreamYard, it worked. I know though, and I think I know what you're talking about, but I know that whenever you put stuff up into StreamYard, as far as streaming video, I know that there might be a little bit of lag because I did experience that whenever I was using and putting MP4s into StreamYard. The only way that I think that you could get around that is that if you looked into Ecamm, because I know Ecamm, I was subscribed to Ecamm for a while, and Ecamm allowed me to put those videos that were locally on my channel or locally on my computer and stream out to everyone. So each platform is going to be different. It doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It just depends on what you're looking at as far as usability, what you're going to be using it for. So, that's just kind of what I would look into. For me, using StreamYard because I'm doing an audio podcast alone, and it's not that I don't like using Zoom. Everyone knows how to use Zoom, but for me, the barrier of entry to get someone in on a live stream, I think needs to be way easier than the multiple clicks that you're getting within Zoom, because you know that with Zoom, like I just had a Zoom call with someone earlier. And so we scheduled it out. They clicked on the link and then they got to test the audio, which is a good thing. They got to test all the audio. They got to test all that stuff out. Right. And then I have to invite them in. And then from there, we start the call. And then once we do the call, we're done. And then there's the leave, the click button, leave. And as you know, with StreamYard, it's just click a link, test it out, and then you're in. And then after that, once you're in, we can record, so their audio, is going to be up to them, really. There's different philosophies on how people see this. There are podcasters who are like, nope, I won't invite you on my podcast unless you have a great microphone. And I'm like, no, I just don't. That's not my philosophy. It's just not something that I believe in. So I believe you as the guest should have the best sounding microphone, because the way the world works, especially in uh network news and broadcast news, is that you see, like, you could go on any network news station right now and they're interviewing someone who is in a remote location, especially because we are in COVID right now. And they are interviewing someone in a remote location that's either using WebEx, they're using Skype, they're using Zoom, they're using something, right? And it's typically some guy in front of his laptop speaking with earbuds in, and that's it, right? So okay, rant over. That's really kind of what it is. Mike Henley just popped into the live stream. So Mike, good to see you, friend. I know that you are crushing it over on Instagram and your podcast. So good to see you, my friend. Do you think StreamYard will ever let us use MP3s? Also, last question: what webcam would you recommend for a great quality picture right now? I'm using a cheaper Nexigo. So let's see. I guess I should put this comment up because I see people are popping in. So do you think StreamYard will ever use MP3s? Also, last question: what webcam do you recommend for great quality picture right now? I'm using a cheaper Nexigo. So I don't know. It depends on the budget that you're looking at. Like, I have this Logitech camera. I can't remember which version this is. I think it's a C920, and this one cost about $100. And then there's others that are like even better. They're way better. They cost like $200. You could get into like a Canon, but those DSLR cameras are a lot more expensive. Like, I got the Sony A6400, and this was $1,000 camera, right? So it's $1,000 camera, and then that's not even including the lens. I had to get the lens with it. So that was kind of a huge thing. So it really depends on what you're looking at. The Logitech C920 is gonna. I mean, this is what I'm using, the Logitech C920. Just depends on what you're looking at. If you're gonna do something that is a little more in depth with, I guess, you want high definition video, like you see a lot of YouTubers do, you would get an A6400 with I've got it here. Hang on. Here it is. I've got a Cam Link right here. So this is a Cam Link from Elgato Cam Link. And so I would do that, but this takes a little bit of work. You've got to get the right HDMI cable, and then it's got the adapter to it, and then you would plug this part into your computer, and this end would go into your camera, right? So it would go into the camera. Then you would have to change some settings on the A6400. I don't want to make this sound like it's all difficult. It's very possible. But the one thing that I did discover with the Sony A6400 is that you can turn it on, leave it on, do a stream for about 40 minutes before the camera gets hot, and then it shuts the camera down. So that's something that you have to consider. All right. Oh, what's up, Mario? It's good to see you, brother. Shout out to you. Back to the 80s. I've been meaning to reach out to you, but I haven't had a chance. And then, of course, I had catastrophe strike last week with my external hard drive, and that was like a big nightmare for me. So I've been dealing with that. I didn't even I released a podcast, but it was just like a real short 10-minute podcast. So it was all about recalibrating, and that's what I've been doing this whole week, has been recalibrating. Let's see. Todd says, I use a Blue Yeti mic. You recommended it a few years back. Yeah, I mean, you can use a Blue Yeti mic if you're just doing kind of solo one-on-one podcast. You don't necessarily need the mixing board. You can use a Blue Yeti mic. You can use the AT2100X microphone to do your podcast over Zoom. That would be a great way of doing that as well. just some headphones and a Blue Yeti would be fine because you would be capturing it on Zoom. But if you want clearer sound, then that would be a little bit different of a setup. I've got videos on my YouTube channel that talk all about that. So let's see here. Mike Henley. Mike Henley's got a great suggestion, or a GH5 or a GH6. Back to the 80s. It was actually it was $39.99, and it's like the Logitech. Let's see here. Here we go. You were talking about this. This is what Mario was talking about. By the way, he's got a great 80s podcast. You got to check it out. If you can, leave a link for that, Mario. Leave a link for your podcast in the comments. All right. There's a great webcam that competes against the best, and you can get it at Costco right now for $50. Let's see here. And then that's what you said right here. Actually, it was $39.99. It's like the Logitech. Let's you know what? Let's do this. I'm going to share the screen, and we're going to get onto Costco.com. Do they have it on Costco? And tell me, Mario. Let's see here. Webcam. Is that what it is right there? One of these right here. Let's see here. Where was it? I don't. It was listed. Hang on. Webcam. Was it one of these, Mario? The Allure-Tech, the Me. Well, this one's 1080p, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I don't think it's this one down here. It's a webcam. It's $219, but let's see. Let's try one of these. That one's $64. Let's see here. Webcam. Maybe it's the Allure-Tech. 49. Yeah, is that the one right there? Allure-Tech? Omnidirectional. Maybe that's the one that it is. I don't know. Oh, I didn't even put that. I didn't put that. I didn't put it up there. See, I'm still learning Restream.io. Is that the one that we're talking about, Mario? So I don't know. Let's see. Let's take this away. Hey, no worries. Great to see you. Let's see. I'm getting comments from Mario and Mike Henley. Here's one from Mike Henley. I use the C920 as well as a Canon R800 camera into my computer using Camlink. Yeah. So yeah, I think I did a video a while back, but I didn't publish it. And I was doing the Camlink. I did the Camlink with my A6400, and then I just used my my webcam. Of course, I also have, and I could show it, but it's kind of a big pain in the butt right now. But I also have a hub that is plugged into my Mac as well. So that's the way we do that. Thank you so much for all that you do. You're welcome, Mario. What is this? I got a comment here. Mr. Pantalideth. This is Chris. That's my buddy Chris Strickler. Lies. I wish we could leave GIFs inside of the YouTube stream. What are you doing, Chris? Back to the 80s. I'll leave a link in a bit. All right, yeah, that's cool, man. Tobacraft. Let's see here. Yes, I love the 80s. I would love to subscribe to Back to the 80s podcast. Yeah, you got to check out his podcast. It's totally cool. What do we got? I got it last week at Costco nearby. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look into the Costco webcam. I mean, I probably won't buy it because I already got my webcams, but that might be something that I could recommend to people. Let's see here. It looks like the Logitech. Oh, okay. Maybe so. If it's right now at Costco, then maybe it's probably in store. I don't know. Maybe it's just in store. Can't see it on their site. It's probably an in-store purchase. It's like I was looking at, like right now, I think they got like a Brondell water reverse osmosis water tank that I want to get, and it's only online, but I've seen it in the store before, so I know they bring that in every now and again. Shanman Clubhouse. I was able to route my ATR 2100 setup through my Zoom H6, then USB into my iPad Pro using an adapter. Any experience running something like my ATR 2100 into an iPhone? I don't have any experience doing that. I personally am not big into doing any of that type of stuff with phones and putting microphones into phones. It's just not my thing. I mean, I know it's a thing for some podcasters like you, but it's not something that I would really focus on, really. and as far as Clubhouse is concerned, I mean, I think you guys know, if you've listened to my podcast, I have my opinions about Clubhouse. There is some valuable information that goes into Clubhouse, which I think is very cool. You can get some people in there. My biggest issue with Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces is that you got to have your phone plugged in quite a bit, and the phone gets hot, and it's just using a lot of data. That's the other thing. And so, to me, it's cool. It's like streaming online radio, right? The only thing is that it just wears the battery down, and that's like, I just can't be wearing my battery down. That's the thing. So, but I mean, let me go back to this question real quick. I don't have any experience with iPad Pros or anything like that. None of that. I'm just mainly using my mixing board here at the house, because I know there's people out there that like to be mobile. I probably, like you, Mike, you like to be mobile. So I know that that's a thing. It's just not my experience doing that. So, maybe I have to hook up with you and see what your setup is all about. Chris Strickler saying, this is my super secret account, Kingdom Bringer. I've learned a lot from your stuff, Shan. Thanks for your generous sharing. You guys are very welcome. And by the way, I don't know if you guys notice it, but I did start putting like products in my they're like a they're like a little product. It's like t-shirts now in my merch store down below. So I think I've got, let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, you can see I've got the podcast therapist t-shirt down here. I've got this t-shirt right here. For those who love to edit filler words, I made a t-shirt the other day that says, I'm silently editing out all of your filler words. So, yeah, and then you can see like where I've edited out, or I've taken out the in the graphic there. So, yeah. So if you want to get that shirt, you can go ahead and get it. I think it's for UK and US purchases. So, you can grab that if you wanted to. And then I have another one that says, "Get in, loser, we're podcasting." So I've seen this one go around. So Get in, loser, we're podcasting. So that one exists there too. So it should be in the drawer on the video. If you just scroll down, you can see it right there. So let me jump back into the stream here. So you're very welcome, Kingdom Bringer. Let's see here. Chris says, my current setup is the Logitech webcam. I had to correct the blend because it looked a little washed out. And then the Shure SM7B. Yeah. So, I mean, you have a great setup, Chris. Actually, Chris, can you put your Facebook link in? I don't know if I can accept that links. I'm going to have to see if there's any links in here. But if you could put your link to your Facebook page, you guys can see what Chris's setup looks like on his Facebook page. I know that with that Logitech, it washes out. Like, you got to have good lighting. That's the other thing. You got to have really good lighting in order to get like, that non-washed out look. But if you're like pale like me and have been inside forever, then yeah, it's kind of a big deal. Let's see here. My current setup is Logitech webcam. I had to, okay. Yeah. I would look at that. Let's see here. Clubhouse is interesting, but no replacement for podcasts, but it can run on the iPad just fine. For now, just using my AirPods Pro when on the iPhone. Yeah, I'm just using the microphone on my phone. Like, this is what I'm using. I just use the microphone on my phone. I've been into a couple of clubhouses and people ask me to speak and I speak. And then I've actually been playing inside of Twitter Spaces a lot. And Twitter Spaces is very Clubhouse-ish. This is my opinion, and I don't know if I mentioned this in the podcast, but this is my opinion about Clubhouse. I don't know if Clubhouse will have legs. I'm not sure it's going to have it's popular now, but Twitter Spaces has the infrastructure. And right now, Clubhouse doesn't have a whole lot of infrastructure. They don't have a whole lot of security. They're working on the security issues. There's just a lot that's going on with Clubhouse that I think is more about infrastructure than anything else, which is why I don't communicate on it too much. But I know a lot of people go over there and communicate on it. It's a really cool platform. So that's what it is. I do see people recording on Clubhouse and sharing as a podcast, as per your previous episode. Not sure people are being smart about that. Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. They should not be recording their They should not be recording their Clubhouse and repurposing them as a podcast, because it's direct in their terms of service that you cannot do that at all. So In fact, let's see here. Clubhouse terms of service. Let's see here. Terms and conditions. Let's see. Is this it? I'm gonna share the screen so that you guys can see what I'm talking about here. And we'll do a picture in picture so you can see. And I think this is Clubhouse. I'm pretty sure. Maybe that's not it. Clubhouse app. Here it is. Oh, maybe that's not it. Clubhouse. Oh, maybe that's just a blog. I've seen the Clubhouse terms of service. Clubhouse app terms and conditions. Let's see here. Maybe this isn't it. I don't know. But I have seen it. Like I have seen it before. So and there's probably a million different clubhouses. Join Clubhouse. Yeah, see, this is a different Clubhouse. This is not the one that I'm looking for. You got to go into the app and find it, but it exists. I promise you that it does exist. So let's see here. Shanman. Hey, Shanman. Thank you for so many helpful videos. Been hosting and editing a cartoon review podcast for 5 years, but I want to improve sound, upgrade from the USB to XLR, or add sound panels as a priority. So it just depends, man. I mean, I just got off a call today with someone who does video. She's out of Ontario, Canada, and we were talking about the things that hang people up on recording, right? And so, if you're someone like Chris, who was in the live stream right a little bit earlier, he's a musician, so he's probably going to want to have that solid, um, you know, sound treatment within his room where he's recording, right? So he's probably going to want something like that. But I would say, like, I don't want you to have to break the bank completely. If you look at this room, like I have half the room, or not even half the room, I got like a quarter of the room, if that, with soundproofing as a test, and still I get a little bit of an echo. But the thing is that, like, I don't want that to be the thing that is going to keep you from podcasting. If you want to improve sound, you want to improve the reverbs, you've got to obviously sound treat, put furniture in your room, put bookcases, put area rugs down on the ground, just fill the room to where there's not a bunch of sound like bouncing off the walls. Like, these walls I have here are all block walls or brick walls, so there's a lot of sound that is always echoing and popping off of the walls. So I'm not too terribly concerned about that. I do a de-reverb in post-production that allows me to to remove and kind of blunt those sounds. But even the podcasts that I edit, they have guests where they're like, we just edited a podcast this week where the guest lives in a church. Like, she lives in a church, and so it was so echoey, almost impossible for me to take out all of the reverb and echoes in the in the recording itself. And so I told the guy I work on it with, I said, hey man, I go, this is the best that I can do. And he goes like, don't worry about it. He goes, I want the content, I don't care about what it sounds like. So it's really kind of up to you, man. So if you want to improve sound, yeah, you definitely want to probably get into a better microphone. You can add sound panels. I would just work on that over time, but fill your room up. Sound quality, really, if you're asking me, there's different definitions of sound quality. And if you're asking me that, what is the most important sound quality? It's the content quality. It's your microphone and the content that you're delivering, but it's going to also be how you deliver the content, how you edit the content. So the editing is also almost the most important thing. Like, you should be able to go in and equalize the sound right. You should be able to go in and know how to equalize your guest sound. I just saw in a group about a half an hour ago it's in a podcasting group, and I get frustrated with podcasters, especially beginning podcasters who don't want to evolve into something new, because, and I mean, maybe I'm guilty of that too, but at the end of the day, I don't want podcasters thinking that having multiple edits, like we're talking hundreds of edits in their podcast, be a rite of passage. I don't want to see that. Like, I want you to make the most minimal amount of edits in your podcast. And to me, that's sound quality as well. Like you don't have to do all of that stuff. Someone had commented in this post saying that they made over 700 edits and cuts, and it took like 8 hours, or it was like 8 hours of work. And I was like, that should not be a rite of passage. That should not be, you should not be proud of that. Like you should actually be working towards cutting down that editing time. So that could be sound quality as well. So that's just something to think about. Mike Henley, let's see here. Yeah, Instagram. I mean, you would think that Instagram is going to be coming with something like a Clubhouse too. So, it's going to be coming. Facebook is going to dominate it. It's just, how, but I will tell you this. So here's the thing. I will tell you this. And then we're going to get to Chris's comment here in a second, but I'll tell you this. When Facebook implements something and they copy something or they clone something from another platform, it's not always as good as the original version, right? So when Snapchat came out, Snapchat did their thing, and then Facebook started doing their own version of Snapchat, and so did Instagram. And granted, Facebook has made it a lot better, made the product a lot better, but it did not translate very well in the beginning. Now, let's take it from the other's perspective. If you go on Facebook and use Facebook Stories for a page itself is super glitchy. It's just super duper glitchy. And I cannot get stories to work appropriately on my Facebook page because it's just too super glitchy. So that's just, I'm waiting it out, waiting for everyone else to do their thing. I see Vincent just popped in, but we're going to get to Mike here. Oh, yeah, he just posted the Clubhouse. You may not transcribe, record, or otherwise reproduce or share information obtained in Clubhouse without prior permission. Yes. So that is the warning from Clubhouse. Chris Strickler says you will probably see a bigger jump in quality from XLR compared to USB. If you're speaking in front of the computer, you only really need minor soundproofing in front of you. Yeah, so if the sound is going in front of you, I mean, you could get like soundproofing in front of you, and it's just going to block that sound hitting those walls. It'll have to go over the soundproofing. But for the most part, you're not going to have to really worry about a whole lot. I mean, I don't overthink the soundproofing problem within my own recordings. You can hear a little bit of an echo, but listen to like everyone. I mean, I'm not saying go be like everyone else or anything like that, but when you go and you listen to other podcasts, you're going to see that there are podcasters recording out of their garage, or there's a guy recording out of his. I mean, I've seen people recording directly out of their closet, and and that's completely fine as well. It's going to be your threshold. I mean, it's got to be your threshold. What is your threshold of what quality sounds like? It's going to be up to you. I know that I can mask certain sounds in post-production, and I know how to mask those sounds in post-production. So, I mean, if anyone knows how to do it, it's Chris. Chris is right here. I don't know how to say your thing here, Chris. Mr. Panta, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. It's you. Chris knows a lot about this because he's always in recording studios. So I hope that helps out, Greg. And Mike as well. No, not Mike, but I think it's Greg. Vincent Orlek. Let's see. What do we got? Vincent, Clubhouse versus Twitter Spaces versus whatever Facebook comes with versus podcast. Different use cases and audiences. Yeah, it's going to be completely different. It's just not. Yeah, I mean, someone had said, Clubhouse is going to like get rid of radio. And I'm like, no, they've been saying get rid of radio for a long time. And it's just not a thing. I mean, I don't see Clubhouse replacing radio because there's always going to be a need for local professional content from radio. There always is. I mean, you always are going to go if you're still commuting, you're going to need traffic and weather. Could you look at it on Waze, or could you look at the information up on Google Maps? Yeah. But radio is just another option. It's just similar to Clubhouse versus Twitter Spaces versus whatever comes. I'm just waiting for Clubhouse because I'm just not. I mean, it's cool, but I'm just not sold on it. Maybe Vincent's more sold on it than anything else, but I'm just not completely sold on it yet. I know there's like so many people going there, but I think that's the FOMO of Clubhouse. If you got an iPhone, you're in it, and then of course they're creating all this FOMO for Android people. Like, oh, we got this. It's a really cool platform. Same with Twitter Spaces. I've been in Twitter Spaces. I've done talks in Twitter Spaces. You know, to me, those spaces are really great for communicating, connecting, and building community. It would be similar to be doing, I would say it's similar. It's not exact, but it's similar to doing a YouTube live minus and sans the people coming in and talking, right? So that's what it would be. Vincent, you always have great insight on this. I should invite you in, but I think you're probably working right now. Let's see here. We got back to the 80s. As long as they're using a dynamic mic, the minimal room treatment is required. But when using a condenser, you'll need a lot more treatment as sound also bounces from behind. Yeah, it's again, like it's going to be a threshold thing. It's the threshold of how much reverb you want coming in and out of your recording. Now, I'm sure you can hear some reverb in this room. I know I can hear it in my headphones, but I think there's also this thing where people don't realize, because I get this question. I had this question yesterday. A buddy of mine called me up. His name is Jimmy Wisman, and Jimmy asked me why he had certain sounds coming in and bouncing off and the noise floors and whatever. And I told him, I go, well, you got to remember that what you're hearing in your headphones it's typically not what is showing up in the recording. So what you're hearing in the headphones is typically amplified, and you're going to be like, oh, this is just too much for me. But when you take it into the recording and you listen to it in your DAW, your Adobe Audition, Audacity, or wherever, it doesn't show up as pronounced, right? So what you're hearing that goes through either a mixing board or whatever, it may not always be that way. It may not be always super pronounced. So, when we do go in and we create audio in Audition, a lot of that is just, it's just more about sound treatment than anything else. So that's really, I mean, you can go any route that you want with that. But like what Mario says, it just depends on the minimal sound treatment that you're going to be using. So, let's see here. Vincent Orlek, I love this video, bro. Love the wisdom. Well, I love you, Vincent, and I love that you pop in and you check in, my friend. So I appreciate you. I got to connect with you again. I haven't talked to you since I reached out to you that one time, but I just got to connect with you. And I think you're doing some AZ Startup Week. I think you're doing AZ Startup Week soon. I think did that happen yet? I don't know. I got to look to my LinkedIn because I saw you post it and I think I accepted to it, but I haven't looked at that invitation yet. Let's see here. Low traffic / engagement is tough to deal with as a podcaster. However, success is also a challenge. I doubled my traffic in the last 2 months after almost 2 years, and I don't know how it happened. Are you being consistent? If that's the case, you might be the consistency might be the case. I have also seen you, Mike, posting videos on Instagram and doing live streams of your drawings. So that could be also maybe it. I don't know the full scope of what you've got going on there. But there's this thing with podcasters, I think, where when they come in and they're starting out for the first time, and and they go, well, I don't know how I'm getting my traffic, or I don't know how much traffic I'm getting, or what it is. We have to look at a couple different ways of how that traffic is being viewed, right? So first piece of traffic that we're getting, obviously, is when we publish, right? When we publish our podcast, it goes into our hosting, and then the hosting is distributing that to the RSS feeds. And so then the RSS feeds post that, and then it's kind of like a Facebook feed, right? It's like the most recent episode gets pushed to the top of someone's, I guess, news feed, if they are subscribed to you. But also those show notes and those descriptions are going to be good key indicators. And the tagging, I think, is pretty important too, so that it describes what the podcast is all about. So when you're going and inputting a lot of this stuff and you're putting the tagging inside of your podcast, that would be a good way of looking at discovery for your podcast. Then that's just the one way. So you're getting, like, I guess you could say, like, this organic visibility with people, right? And so then when you take it to social media, then you're sharing these bits of what you're about, right? So they see that you know how to draw, or they see that you know how to edit, or they see that you know how to build paper airplanes, I don't know, something like that. And and people start seeing that, and they see that you have a podcast, and then they click on that. That might be one way that's happening, So it's just about putting the content out there, having the content available. If you're asking me what the podcast content is, if you're building out a 40-minute podcast, that is your biggest piece of content. That's your pillar content, right? That's going to be the piece of content that everyone wants to consume. And then if you can share pieces of that somewhere online, then great. You could share it as a blog. You could share it as a Instagram post, or like an image that's like a quote of some sort, and share it to Instagram. Those are just ways that you could do that. But if you're getting that traffic, then man, I'd say keep doing it. I got a guy that is out of New York who hit me up, and he said that he started incorporating email marketing, and he started to see a boost into his subscriptions and listens. So that's just one way of doing that. Vincent, yes. Late April. I know that startup week starts around this time all the time. So late April, and it's pandemic driven. So it's all online. Let's see. What do we got? I had something happen similar. I had something similar happen, Mike. We saw our RSS subs get a bump from a new Netflix series that came out. That could be another way. People want to know about series, and it's a true crime series, and they're looking for podcasts to consume, and good podcasts to consume. So that might be a way of doing that, or getting that traffic. Let's see. I've been consistent, just no clue. I would love to recreate it or just keep it going. I would just keep it going. I think the most important thing here is to just keep it going, whatever traction and whatever win that you have with your podcast and the downloads that you are getting. And as you know, I'm not a big downloads guy. I don't like looking at that metric. I like looking at the metric and saying, okay, I am getting more downloads, but me, it's more about the content. Like, are they consuming the content? Like, I want them consuming the whole piece of content, or at least 90% of the content, because within that content, I want them taking an action inside of the podcast, to where I am leading them to a website, or I'm leading them to a social media post, or I'm leading them somewhere. So the call to action within the podcast, I think, is far more important than the download, because to me, the download gives you the number, right? It gives you the number, but it's not the full picture. The full picture for you as the podcaster is like, you got to identify what it is that you want to do with your podcast. Are you trying to make money off the podcast somehow? And likely the answer might be yes, unless you're someone who is just sharing the information, right? You're just sharing the information. But excuse me, as you hear a lot of content creators who are doing this, if you're podcasting and you're not figuring out a way to monetize it, then it's just a really expensive hobby, because unless you're using Anchor, right? If you're using Anchor, but then we all know about Anchor. And if you're cool with Anchor having the control over the accounts of the syndication accounts that exist, then great, it's fine. Like, they have their own monetization model that is on that platform, and that's great, right? But then, of course, there's a cut that is being taken by Anchor, and all that. There's just a million things that go into it, and it's just going to be up to you. It's really up to you. For me, and there's always going to be a cut. There's always going to be a cut that's taken somewhere, right? But for me, if you're building a podcast, you got to figure out how you're monetizing it. You can monetize it by based off of subscriptions, and maybe creating a membership platform on Patreon. There are many platforms that are about this. I'm going to be creating a podcast that talks all about this. In fact, today I'm talking to someone at 4:00 about memberships, not for the podcast, but we're having kind of a discovery call. We're going to be talking about a lot of that stuff too. So monetization, I think, has got to be kind of like, if you're just doing it for free, great. But if you're trying to make some money off of the efforts that you're creating, people will pay for it. Even if that's just saying, I'm creating a podcast that is extended version, and it's behind a paywall. That's just something that I think you do. So to get to this question right here, or to get to this comment, just no clue. I would love to recreate it or keep it going. I would always be publishing a free episode on wherever you're publishing it, because that would serve as the lead episode. That would serve as the episode that acquaints people with who you are. If you build a membership, or you build a paywall behind a paid podcast, and there's more content, then I would push them into that. Maybe they get early access. Maybe they get commercial free, things like that. Let's go to Chris's comment here. Sure, but it's also diminishing returns to a point with mics and sound treatment. Most audiences won't recognize those little subtle differences after a while, other than those in the industry. Yeah, so like, it's funny Chris says this, because I was listening to a podcast, or not a podcast, I was listening to an audiobook the other day, and I can hear where the edits are made inside the audiobook. Because I have done this in my own recording. So when I do a voiceover, if I record a voiceover, I don't know, maybe I can test it out here. If I test, maybe I test, I'm going to test it out with you guys. So if I record a voiceover and I'm reading a piece of script, right? I'm reading a piece of script. You can tell typically where the edits and the cuts happen. So I'm going to take your comment. Well, maybe I don't keep, I'll keep your comment on here. So let me share the screen. Wait, share screen. And then we're going to share this one. And then we're going to turn this on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record into Adobe Audition, and I'm going to get a piece of copy here. I'm going to get a piece of copy that I have right here. And so with this piece of copy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read. So I got this copy for StreamYard. You hear me read about it in my podcast. So I'm going to read this piece of copy, and then I'm going to probably make a mistake of some sort. And then you'll hear me edit it out. So I'll edit out, and you can see where the cut happens. And then if I was to record it or re-record it flat, as I like to call it, just flat, and then I'll re-record it with inflections that will make it sound a lot better. So with what Chris is saying, this is just goes all with what Chris is saying. It's everything. It's everything. Most people who are in the industry will be able to hear echoes, they'll hear reverbs, they'll hear all this stuff bouncing off, right? But they will not likely, people in the industry will hear that, but people generally who are just listeners, they won't hear it. They're not going to care, right? They're not really going to care. So you as a content creator cannot be too overly consumed with certain sounds, all right? So I'm going to read this piece of copy here in Adobe Audition, and I'll read it, and then we'll make a couple different edits. So let me just stop this real quick. So we'll do it right here. So let's do this. You guys can see this, I hope. So if not, we'll have to do it all over again. But let me read this copy. Today's podcast. Let me read this. Today's podcast therapist Mixdown is created through StreamYard. Create seamless recordings of your podcast interviews or stream them live to multiple platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, or Periscope. Learn more at StreamYard through my affiliate link at thepodcasttherapist.com/StreamYard. Okay, so here is the piece of audio. We're going to go ahead and trim that up. Let me move this over real quick. All right. So here it is, and we'll listen to it. Today's podcast therapist Mixdown is created through StreamYard. Create seamless recordings of your podcast interviews or stream them live. So I don't like how I said like interviews. I stumbled a little bit right here. Podcast interviews or stream them live to multiple platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn. Recordings of your podcast interviews, or see, I kind of like slurred there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-record this all from this point forward. If my mouse decides to work, my mouse just died. Hang on. Why did my mouse die? I don't know why my mouse is dying. Oh no, what's going on here? Of course it has to happen like this whenever I'm doing a presentation. Come on. Oh no, wait, that's not that. Can we connect? There it is. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start again. So here we are. We're going to edit this part out right here. So listen to how it sounds. Created through StreamYard. Create seamless recordings of your podcast interview. So I want it to sound pretty much the same, pretty close to what it sounds like. And let's see here. There we go. Down is create. Let me see if you guys can hear me. As therapist Mixdown is created through StreamYard. If you can hear right here, there is right here a breath. There is a breath. So what I typically do whenever I read these pieces of copy and I try to make things sound a little more seamless as though I was reading it all in one breath, I match myself with the inflection point of how this sounds. So I'll listen to it. Mixdown is created through StreamYard. Mixdown is created through StreamYard. So I just kind of remember that. Mixdown is created through StreamYard. So what I do is I go to the end of the file, and when I go to re-record it, I go, let me reread this. Let me redo it again. Today's podcast therapist Mixdown is created through StreamYard. Okay, so then I'll go, Today's podcast therapist Mixdown is created through StreamYard. Create seamless recordings of your podcast interviews or stream them live to multiple. See, I messed up right there, but I think you get the picture. So we're going to go here. StreamYard. I leave in the breath. StreamYard. And then I come back in. and then I trim it up right there. And it's got kind of the same inflection point. Through StreamYard. Today's podcast therapist, but that's not it right there. So is created through StreamYard. Today's podcast therapist mixdown is created through StreamYard. So that's where I'll make that edit right there. Down is created through StreamYard. Create seamless recording. It's a little rough, but that's how I keep the inflection points. I might go through that a couple of extra times to make sure that it sounds right, but that's how I maintain inflection points as opposed to it just, starting out with a cut, a straight up cut, because you can hear what a straight up cut would sound like. If I were to go ahead and read it from here, create seamless recordings of your podcast interviews or stream them live to multiple platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, or Periscope. So there's obviously an inflection difference here. Through StreamYard. There we go. Create seamless recordings of your podcast through StreamYard. Create seamless recordings of your podcast. So I can tell what that sounds like, but most people won't. But I try to maintain inflections by figuring out what the inflection sounds like between the first part of what I'm saying and matching it with what the second part is going to be doing. So that's how I do that. If that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes any sense. Let's see here. Shanman mentioned me in a previous podcast, so I owe him something. You don't owe me anything, bro. Trust me, you don't owe me anything. Let's see here. You can't get caught up in the spikes. I've seen our stream spike in countries for random reasons that we couldn't explain. Just something happened in Germany today. Stay moment. Yeah, I think you just got to stay the moment. You got to stay the course. You got to just continue to keep building. So that's what I think you got to do. Let's see here. Mike Henley. Thanks, Shanman and everyone. You're very welcome. So I'm going to leave it at that. This was really just kind of more of a live stream, a test for me to test out Restream. I might be using Restream. I'm probably going to do a video about Restream and talk about like what, if it's good for, live streamers, if you're trying to create a live stream broadcast, things like that, so that you can learn a little bit more about it. So I hope that whatever I shared today was okay. I saw a lot of people popping in and saying hi and communicating. So I thought that was kind of cool to see them pop in. So I'm glad to see that you guys popped in. Chris Strickler, I need to text you and we need to catch up and see what's going on. Mike Hanley, continue to maintain the course, though. I got more stuff that I will be talking about on the Podcast Therapist. So if you want to, if you keep listening, you're going to hear a lot about it, and especially when it comes down to memberships too. So I really want to get into that. That is a topic that is hot. That is hot for people right now. Let's see here. Hey, Shan, we'll be talking rock and metal next week and following 2 Fridays. If you have time, we'd love to. Yeah, hit me up, man. Let me see if I got it on my schedule, if we can work it into my schedule. I am planning on doing possibly live streams on Fridays now, but I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So we'll just reach out to me, email me. Okay. So, all right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and split because number 1, I've got to go eat. And number 2, I really got to eat. And number 2, I have to use the little boys' room. So you guys have a good one. Thank you so much for tuning in. And of course, subscribe. If you want to check out the merch, it's down in the drawer below this video on YouTube. You can check that out. I'm getting that ready and set and ready to go. So I will talk to you guys later.